Most of the newer Panasonic cameras support USB-C power by plugging any USB-C charger into the side of it, and if you have a battery in this, it'll run pretty much indefinitely. But there's a couple of small cons to using the USB-C port on the side of the camera. The first con is you can't use the SSD recording if you want to power this through the side port because you need that port to plug into your SSD. The other con is if you use the USB-C port on the side with some of the cameras like the Lumix S9 or the new S1R2, then you generate more heat by having the actual battery in the bottom of the camera and using it even with the USB-C power on the side of the camera. So to combat this, you can get the Panasonic DCC-18. And this is kind of like a dummy battery, except instead of having a spot on the side to plug it into DC power, it has a USB-C adapter on it. So this is very compact and gives you this little USB-C pigtail on the back of it. And this will work with any power supply giving 27 watts of power or more. So you can use this with a ton of different power banks, bigger V-mount batteries from brands like SmallRig and Neewer. You could also use it with a straight USB-C wall charger if you want as well. So you get a lot of different ways you can set up your camera by using this. And originally I didn't really understand the point of this, but I'm starting to see it unlocks a ton of versatile options that you don't get when you use a standard dummy battery. And I think there's still sometimes when the standard DC dummy battery is really handy, but you can do a lot with this as well. Also with the S1R2, you are going to have to use this if you want to be able to unlock some of the higher bitrate modes to the SSD recording, because for whatever reason, the Condor Blue dummy batteries don't support it right now. So this is gonna be the only way to unlock some of the higher end codecs on that camera. I don't have a full list of them yet, but there are some resources online where people are researching that. So if you wanna use the DCC-18, you just need to open your battery door, insert it, and then you have this little rubber stopper on the bottom of the battery door, and you move that out of the way, and then you're left with this little USB-C pigtail coming out the bottom of the battery door. One of the things that's nice about this is it generates very little heat having the dummy battery on the inside. Most of the heat is on your external battery. Now, once you have this set up, you have a couple different ways that you can actually rig your camera out. But the first thing I want to say is I really recommend using a cage with your camera whenever you have this on, because if you don't have a cage, you are going to put more pressure on the cord at the bottom of it. The cage just raises it up off your surface a little bit. So once you've got this plugged in, you can plug any USB-C cord or power adapter in that's a minimum of 27 watts. So I tried some 20 watt adapters. It doesn't work. You need to have at least 27 watts of power. The smallest USB-C charger I would recommend is this little Anker Nano 30 watt one. It's super compact, very tiny. But if you want to have more versatile options, you can get stuff like these SmallRig V-mount batteries. SmallRig also has some of these L batteries that have USB-C output, and I'll show you a cool way to use this in a second. Or you can use it with any standard power bank as well, and you can use an SSD clamp or a power bank clamp to attach this onto your camera rig. So this is going to be a great option as well to power it. All you got to do is plug your USB-C cord in and then flip the switch on your camera. Give it just a second and it should power up just fine. You will notice there's no battery indicator on the bottom corner of it, so there's no way to see how much battery life you have if you're using it with an external power bank. You're just going to need to monitor the power levels on the power bank. And a couple things will change how much power and battery life you're going to be able to get, like if you're using the XLR adapter on the top of it, what codec you're shooting in, just a variety of other settings on the camera. So make sure if you get one of these and you want to know how long it's going to last in the real world when you're out shooting jobs, make sure that you do some tests with any power source before you actually take this out to go shoot. I did notice the USB-C jack holds really tight on this, and that was one of the reasons I originally didn't want to check the DCC-18 out, but the USB-C cord does stay really firmly attached into it. It doesn't wiggle at all, unlike some other USB-C connectors. Just know if the power comes disconnected, you're going to lose all the power going to the camera, which is a con to using any dummy battery. And I think that's the thing that I do need to point out. If you want to be taking this away from an external power source a lot of times, you are still going to be better off using actual camera batteries. And I really like the ones that SmallRig has that have the USB-C port to recharge your camera if that's the route you want to go. But where this really comes in handy is if you're setting this up on a tripod or if you're building out a mini rig, then you can buy any power bank or any charger and run this for a very long time. If you compare the DCC-18 to a dummy battery like the Condor Blue DCC-17, the main difference between this is just that you're going to use USB power instead of using DC power, which can come in handy depending on the setup you want to use. I do like that this connector is a locking connector on the Condor Blue one. I think that's a great advantage. But just note that if you're going to plug this into a V-mount battery, all of a sudden you got to actually store this V-mount battery somewhere, have this attached to a camera rig, so you're going to need some sort of holder to attach to your tripod or to rig out your camera a little bit bigger. So There's more components involved if you use a dummy battery versus using something like one of these little USB-C power adapters. So you can either use this on a tripod and then just run your USB-C cord to it. You could also clamp your power bank to the side of your tripod, or one really cool little run and gun setup I came up with is use the DCC-18. And I'm gonna take this Condor Blue Pearl Blade top handle and also using this camera monitor. This is gonna be a really slick rig. Put that on top like that, lock it onto my cage, and then we can run the HDMI cable there. Use the USB-C for data to go to the SSD. And then on the back of this Field World monitor, we're gonna use this small rig NPF-L battery that has USB-C. So this is gonna power both the camera monitor, and it's also gonna allow us to power the camera using that dummy battery. So this will make for a really compact little rig that has SSD recording, a monitor, and power for a really long time to the camera, all through this one battery on the back of the screen. So there is a ton of versatility with how you can use the Panasonic DCC-18 dummy battery. The Panasonic DCC-18 goes for about $40, which is right in line with any other dummy battery. It's worth buying because you're gonna be able to run your camera for hours at a time, whether from wall power or from a variety of different USB power sources. Just know the main con to it is you are probably gonna wanna have this on a cage or have it on some sort of tripod plate where you have the ability to mount a battery or have a long USB-C cord running to it. The other big con to it is if you wanna take it off of your rig, you're gonna need to have another battery ready to go because you will have to lose all your power to the camera whenever you shut it off. If you're interested in buying the DCC-18, I do have links to buy it in the description below. If you've got any other questions about this or any experience using this in the real world, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear them. Like this video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any upcoming content.